State Senator Bruce Rampelberg and I are having a lively conversation. We want to share it with you. I think if I were going to give it a title, I'd say we're talking about compromise. And some of us aren't so good at that. Some people, that's 100% of what they do. Tell me, share with our viewers the 42% theory that you shared with me.
Sure. Well, in my opinion, what we have, and this is based upon statistics, we have 42% of our population that would be called liberals or Democrats. We have about 42% that would be called conservatives or Republicans. And we have about 16% in the middle who are independents, or some a little bit Republican, some a little bit Democrat. But they're the ones who typically sway the vote, because normally none of the 42% are going to cross over and vote for one of the other party's positions. And so in my opinion today, when we are battling this out, what our candidates are doing is battling for the favor of the 16%. And I think what's happening to us is we have people who are ultra-left and ultra-right who are pulling really hard to make sure that nobody adopts any portion of what the other side is promoting. And so what I believe we need in today's world is some statesmanship on the part of both parties, if you will, so that we come to a point where we can start, and the word compromise comes to mind, but I think we need to negotiate things back and forth and work on coming to a solution that's the best for the country, rather than what might be best for some special interest groups.
Okay, so you're saying that ultimately the salvation of America lies in compromise. Now let me disprove that theory if I can. I believe that this is a time, and you and I have discussed this is a time for statesmen. This is a time for men and women who are principled to step forward and lead.
Yes.
Martin Luther King comes to mind. Now, Martin Luther King was a statesman.
Yes.
Martin Luther King was not looking at the 16% in the mushy middle.
Right.
He was looking at a moral prerogative and saying, this is what's right, and America, we're calling you to step into the moral high ground. And we could use that theory on economics or morality. Some of us would believe they're tied together, but Martin Luther King didn't compromise. I think even back a little further than that, Jonah went to Nineveh and the whole country had a change of mind. That, I believe, is what we need. Compromise is what's gotten us where we are. Tell me why that's wrong.
Well, and I think it depends upon the word compromise. Because you go back and look at Lincoln.
It depends on what the meaning of the word is.
Yeah, I know, is. But go back and take a look at Lincoln. He was a masterful person because he brought in his worst enemies into his cabinet. And they debated things at great length, and he came up with solutions that would work best for the country.
But what was his greatest achievement?
Well, of course, it was the slavery thing.
And that wasn't the mushy middle, was it?
No, that was,
that was an absolute.
Absolutely. But on the other hand, he got that done because of working with the people on the other party.
Do you think? He got it done through a civil war.
Oh, I know, it's horrible.
The shedding of blood.
But even so, it took, and what a horrible thing that was. But take a look at Ronald Reagan. What did Ronald Reagan do? He did the same thing. He brought people that were in opposition to him into his cabinet. They worked through issues. So, and you could say the same thing about President Obama. He brought in some people who caused the problem in the first place to somehow try to figure out how we're going to solve the problem. But I believe that even though we talk about compromise, and I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with your connotation of that word, but I believe that statesmen are going to come together and work very hard to come up with solutions that are best for the country rather than their individual, because if they aren't willing to move from the positions they're in, we have no chance as a country to move forward in a positive way.
But are you saying then that they should move from principle?
Well, I think an awful lot of these issues that we're talking about, and I'm not talking so much about the social issues, I'm talking about the jobs
even
issues.
Economical.
Well, but these aren't principles, these are opinions as it relates to economics.
Well, wouldn't you say that overspending and overtaxing has something to do with principle?
Sure, but that gets back around to, and we have the same problem with the social issues. It's what you believe that dictates it. Unfortunately, I'm a supply sider. I believe that people should be taxed less and have more money because they'll raise more taxes by creating jobs rather than taking it away from them and putting it into things that do not create jobs.
Well, Bruce and I were friends when we started this segment, and we're still friends.
Yes, we
Even
are.
though we might disagree. But we hope that you've been listening and this has challenged you.